Hi, I'm Christina Iodice. I'm the Public Information Officer for El Paso County Department of Human Services. And I'm here with Jenny Swager, the Children, Youth, and Family Services Assistant Manager in DHS, to share a little bit about what DHS does, especially with our kinship and foster care programs. Jenny, can you give us a big picture of what the County Department of Human Services, that is DHS, what we do?
DHS staff work to protect the most vulnerable in the community, children, the elderly, at-risk adults, and they provide services and programs from the local, state, and federal governments for them. Families come to DHS when they need help. The programs that we offer can include things like food assistance, low-income energy support, Health First Colorado, and other need-based programs that help struggling families. We also work closely with community organizations and other nonprofits, since DHS can meet some needs, but not all of them.
Can you share a brief summary about the focus of Children, Youth, and Family Services Division in DHS?
Children, Youth, and Family Services focuses on child protection. Child abuse and neglect is a serious topic, and it happens to kids of all ages. Neighbors, teachers, law enforcement, doctors, family members, friends, and many others can call the state hotline to report child abuse and neglect. And then our CYFS caseworkers pull together all the information that's available and work with families to find a safe solution. Sometimes that means connecting the parents with services or resources to help learn new skills, and sometimes the only way to keep a child safe is to take them out of the threatening situation and place them with relatives or a foster family until the danger is resolved.
So what exactly is your role?
I manage two programs for El Paso County. The first is our kinship program, which is for relatives and close friends who are caring for a child who's in need of a safe place to stay. And the other is for our county foster care, which works to find safe homes for older youth.
Sounds like foster care is very important, but why would a child be placed in foster care?
Foster families provide a safe place to call home for children when their own homes are not safe. These families are important because they're there to support kids who have been through some really scary things, while their parents are getting support in other ways. Kids can be in foster care for many different reasons, but the main reason is that there is something that makes their home unsafe or their parents unavailable to care for them. A possible example of that could be a parent who's struggling with abusing drugs or who might be incarcerated in jail or prison.
Oh. So how do families become foster families?
To become a foster family, you apply to an agency and start a home study process. The home study involves a whole ton of paperwork, a lot of interviews between the worker that's doing that home study and the family, a lot of background checks to make sure that that family is safe, and then training as well. The goal is to ensure that the family is safe, healthy, and have what they need to support having foster children in their home. And that training is to equip them to care for someone who's been in a really tough situation.
It's definitely a really tough job, and it sounds like every foster family may look different. And sometimes a family with kids will decide to become a foster family. So what might that look like?
Yeah, foster families are just as different and diverse as non-foster families. They can be single parents or couples, people who have had children before, and people who haven't, on and on. I actually grew up as the biological sibling in a foster family. My parents started fostering when I was 9 years old, and they still continue to foster today. And being a foster sibling is a little bit different, but it's also very much the same. To me, that was just another brother or sister who was living in my home. And so there's definitely a lot of questions from foster siblings about what it's going to be like when a foster child comes to stay. And there's different things that a foster child has to do, like going to court or visits with their biological family, or maybe therapy. But for the most part, they do the same things that you do, with going to school, spending time with friends, or doing family activities.
So will all the kids in the household do things together, or will they kind of each do their own thing?
Well, when a foster child comes to stay, they're a part of your family. And so just like you might do some of the same things that your siblings do, or you might want to go and do your own thing, it's the same with a foster child. What can be cool about having a foster sibling is sometimes they're your same age, and it's just like you get a new best friend that comes and lives at your house.
Well, and of course, kids have school. So what does school look like for foster children?
It can depend on the child and the situation. Sometimes when a kid comes into foster care, they're able to stay at their same school and maybe be dropped off and picked up by the foster parent, or ride a bus from a different route, or even use our special school taxi. But other times they need to change schools and would be going to the neighborhood school that's in their foster home.
So it sounds like being a foster child is a lot like being a normal kid. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Being in foster care is different, but they're just regular kids who have gone through some really hard things. Hard things that mean they need to live somewhere else for a while.
So how might foster kids be different?
Kids in foster care do often have tough rules that they have to follow, such as needing special permission for things like riding bikes or going to sleepovers or going to a trampoline park. They also often have meetings with people like caseworkers, guardian ad litems, CASA workers that come and visit them at the foster home. Kids who are in foster care usually have scheduled visits with their parents or family members, and sometimes have meetings or court hearings to attend as well. A kid who's in foster care can feel very alone, like there's nobody else who's experienced what they're experiencing, and they might feel a little bit ashamed of that. And kids in foster care might also be nervous about what other people will think or what questions they might ask about why they're in foster care. Every child is different, and no one's experiences are going to be the same.
Sounds like there's a lot of different parts involved with foster children and foster families. But is someone in foster care forever, or how long might a foster child be with the same family?
Foster care is not forever. Always, always, our goal is that we're working with parents so that children can go home. And sometimes, for one reason or another, that isn't possible. And if going home isn't an option, our first thought is to work with other family members and then with foster parents to find a permanent option for that child. So even though kids don't always go home from foster care, we work really hard to ensure that everyone does have a forever family.
What's the one thing you want those watching to learn to know about foster care?
For kids who are in foster care, it's not their fault. It's not a punishment to have to live away from your parents and be in foster care. These are kids who have been through some really hard things and come from hard places, and they all deserve a chance to live in a safe place. I think it's also important to know that making a decision about where a child lives is a really big decision. And that's made by a team of adults, the caseworker, an attorney that specifically looks out for the best interest of a child, the judge. All of these adults are working together to build safety for that child. It can be hard to think that there's so many adults that are making decisions for you and for your life, but no child should have to make such a huge decision about where they live all on their own.
And what if someone wants to learn more about DHS and foster care?
A lot of information about DHS is online at humanservices.elpasoco.com.
Mm-hmm. And if anyone else wants to learn more about foster care in particular, you can go to elpasoco.com/fostercare.